Hello, lovely, and welcome to the Essence of Expression podcast. Get ready to explore insights, lessons, practices, and wisdom from life for life. I'm your host, Arejay, healer, teacher, student, and sage. I'm excited and honored to have you with me on this journey. Let's dive in. There are a few phases that we move through in living our prayer, right? And sometimes we're living our prayer and we forget to recognize that we're living our prayer, like what we're doing right now, the life we have right now, whatever's going on is something that at one point in time there is a different version of us that prayed to be here, right? That prayed for that. And that's one phase, right? And so having the awareness to actually recognize that and take that in and be grateful for that. And there is the time when you're actually actively making your prayer for where you want to be next, right? And then there's this middle space between we'll call it submitting your prayer for lack of a better term right now, and living in it, right? And so this is when things are being prepared and shifted. The support you need is coming. The things that aren't part of this prayer or that aren't going to support this prayer are being pushed aside. Sometimes it feels more like it's being stripped away because we're still holding on to it, or because that was a surprise to us that these things needed to be moved out of the way. So there's that middle part, right? Where sometimes instead of it feeling like your prayer is coming, it feels more like your life is falling apart. And the more you practice and bring awareness to yourself and to your situation, really sit with what you're asking for in your prayer, I think the better we become at being able to recognize that even in the middle of what seems like chaos, what may be easy to misinterpret as punishment or denial of our prayer, is actually things being laid in place for us to end up living our prayer, right? So when we're in that middle space, it can sometimes feel confusing. It can feel really scary. It can feel a lot of things, right? And it's not necessarily a lot of good things. But it's important to remember your prayer, right? And still hold on to that prayer. And as you're remembering that prayer, start to look at the things that are happening around you and see how it is making space for what you prayed for, right? So sometimes it's very obvious. Sometimes we have to look a little harder, and that's okay. But see how it's making the pathway for your prayer. And then once you see how it's making the pathway, once you begin to see it, also ask yourself, what can I do right now to also be making my way to living in the prayer that I prayed? And sometimes it can be challenging because sometimes when we were praying our prayer, we had in our mind the way that was going to show up for us, and that middle that's happening, that adjustment in life that's being made to make way for the possibility of your prayer, looks very different, right? That was nowhere in what you envisioned, and that's okay. But still look and see what role are you supposed to play right now? What actions are you supposed to be taking? So how much of the vision of the prayer that you prayed for can you start to action and make real in the moment, in the middle of this messy, right? And really think about it and start to do it, right? Like as soon as you have an inkling of what the actions you need to take are, what the steps you need to do are, start to do them, right? And part of the key is to, in holding your prayer, right? Not just remembering it, but actioning as much of your prayer as you can in the moment, right? Like you won't be able to necessarily action all of it, but the pieces that you do see that you can put into place, do it. Do it. And it may seem crazy. It may seem like counterintuitive to what like logic would dictate is needed right now, right? But do it anyway. Like calm your mind down, because our mind likes to freak out and make up all these really interesting stories. And if we don't watch it, we find ourselves like fully playing along with the story that's not even fucking true, right? So quiet your mind down. Look at your prayer. Look at the spaces in your life in this moment, and how can you begin to fill those spaces with parts of your prayer, right? And so if you need like a better example of this, one of the things I was wanting to, have the courage to step further into my gifts and to step more into the healing realm and into like doing that as service, as business, like, right? And not having to necessarily be in corporate. Actually, have to is a bad word because I don't have to, but moving myself out of corporate and moving more into the healing space and into my own business and living more fully from and in my gifts. And that was the prayer, right? Now in my mind, it was this nice, like, smooth transition where like, hey, we had the job and got the time to build the business and then got to like slowly start being in the business and switch over from the job to the business, like, right? Very, very, in a very financially stable way, in a very like, no, not gaps in income, none of that, right? Like that wasn't what I, like, it was a very smooth transition in my mind. What happened was I came back not even 2 weeks after the prayer to being laid off, right? So, this is how we're doing this. And it's very easy to go into like, okay, like I gotta find another job and focus all my attention on that and not pay attention to any of the building my biz, not pay attention to any of the making the spaciousness count, to like have more time for my spiritual practices and things like that, right? It would be very, very easy to get sucked into that. Now, don't get me wrong. Am I like still putting out applications for jobs and things? Yes, right? I do need income. However, right, that the time that's allotted for that is not as much as the time that's being allotted for my business and for setting that up and for getting the missing pieces and like the training that I need to be able to do this well, right? And also starting my day, like, since I don't have a time that I have to be up right now, right? Because I don't have a job, still choosing to like wake up at that same time though, and now start my day instead of from starting from a place of like, oh my gosh, I gotta rush and I gotta do this and do that and all the things, like starting it from the, okay, like very spacious, like let's sit with spirit. What are next steps? What can I do right now? What ideas are coming? What's wanting to come through? And then moving on into the day, right? And giving space for the job search and giving space and attention and focus to, okay, like, how do I need to set up my offer stack? What does that look like? How do I then go sell it? All the things, right? Like these steps. And honestly, it was steps that I missed in the beginning, which is totally normal. And all my manifesting generator people, I know we do this a lot. But so that's how it's unfolding. But it, like, initially, actually, I've had my ups and downs of like, this is really fucking scary. And then like, this is perfectly fine and everything is right on time. And what was your prayer? How much action are you putting toward that prayer? Right? And maintaining that, and to keep choosing that prayer, and to keep choosing the options that move me closer to that prayer. Right? So that's an example for you. But I just wanted to share that because sometimes it's, it's easy to overlook when we've actually arrived in a prayer. And sometimes it's really fucking hard to see when things are in the middle of being like built and removed and cleared and fortified and all the things to make the prayer real. So just think about it. Like, you're fine. You're okay. And how can you action and show up for that prayer in the middle of what feels like a mess, and be able to perceive as much as you possibly can how all of what's going on is making the way for the prayer. Thank you for your time and attention. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show. If someone came to mind while you were listening to this episode, please take a moment to share it with them. If you're interested in joining a community and diving further into these topics, please visit theessenceofexpression.com/community and request to join our community group. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night or day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.